Hello and welcome to the Gersnet Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast made for fans, by fans, and where the content is absolutely free. I'm your host, David Wren, and tonight we have Stephen Clifford and Colin Armstrong on with us. Obviously, if you're enjoying what we're doing in the pod, please subscribe and share it on social media. And it's available to stream or download after the live broadcast tonight. You can get that on all the usual platforms: Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and also Spotify. So a range of issues to discuss tonight. But first of all, Colin, how are you? How's lockdown treating you?
Hi David, yeah, it's much the same, innit? We were just talking about it before we came on air. I can't say I'm enjoying it. I mean, I don't have any major disasters going on in my life. I'm working from home, and it's not really affected us in that way at all because my wife's a nurse, so she's still working. Obviously, I'm working from home, so none of us have been furloughed or anything like that. But it's beginning to get a bit monotonous now. I miss going to Ibrox, miss getting out for a pint with the boys and all that kind of thing. I actually miss my office. I liked getting into the city and all that kind of stuff. So. It's becoming a bit tedious now, but I don't see it lifting any time soon. I think it'll be still going on for the foreseeable, I'm afraid.
Stevie, have you got a more positive outlook on things at the moment, or is it much of the same?
Do you know, to be honest, David, I'm my life kind of quite regimented in terms of looking after the kids and going to work and things, and I'm lucky that my work hasn't been furloughed either, so my life's pretty much the same. I miss my mates, I must admit, especially my big pal Brian. I saw him the other day when I was driving past, and it was like, mate, it was terrible, but it's pretty much the same for me. I'm just trying to keep upbeat. At least it's never quiet with Rangers and things. There's plenty to keep us going, but I just hope that everybody listening and your guys and everything else, everybody's safe and well, and just trying to plod on as best we can.
Yeah. As you mentioned there, Stevie, obviously probably the biggest talking point yesterday, and there's been a few things, and we'll obviously go through a lot tonight, hopefully. But the big news yesterday was obviously the statement that was put out sort of mid-afternoon by Rangers about the commercial update, which obviously the key point, which was saved until very late in the statement, was the fact that all sort of current retail deals have now come to an end, and it's looking like we'll have a new kit supplier, and also reading between the lines, the Mike Ashley saga appears to be over. Can you maybe talk us through a wee bit of where the club is at the moment, and maybe what you read into that statement yesterday?
Well, I had a blog out today, and you can find that in the Four Lads of the Dream blog site that is basically as close to being an update of where we are. The club said as much as it could say yesterday in terms of legal responsibilities. The current deals will run out at the end of July. When it gets to August, I would expect that they would come out and clarify a lot of it. But it is a clean slate. It is a new era commercially for the club. That weight that has been round our necks, the legacy from the SPFL years of 2012, etc., is gone. Litigation's over, and we're moving into a positive new era for the club. And yeah, it's taken a long time to get here, but it's certainly a positive thing, and we can look forward to the club trying to maximise all commercial income, and a lot of kind of exciting new projects that James Bisgrove talked about yesterday on the live sort of webinar thing that they had on Rangers YouTube channel and things like that. If you haven't seen that, I would go and watch it. It's a must watch for all Rangers fans. That will give you a real insight into the plans that they have commercially, talking talking about the new ideas they had in terms of even possibility of a bar replacing the megastore going to the Edmonton Drive, and the things that I also revealed today on the blog, that commercially the club are now looking, along with our new retail partner and things, that they are looking for new shops in various places. They're looking for pop-up stores. They're looking at new retail space, Edmonton Drive. There's lots of things now rolling on, and I expect the club, they've maybe said as much as they can legally at this point, but I expect the club over the next kind of couple of months, get heading towards that August kind of fresh start period, is exactly when they'll come out and be a wee bit more transparent in terms of what's went on.
Colin, how positive is it from a, I'm sure many fans breathed a sigh of relief yesterday when they read that. What was your take on it?
Well, I mean, obviously, I would say it's positive news. I'm still a wee bit wary. It kind of feels like we've been here before with Ashley. It's felt in previous occasions that was us, and it turned out that it wasn't. But there does seem to be something about this one. It feels a bit different, so hopefully that is the case. I mean, it's been a huge hindrance. It's a huge handicap to the club that we've not really had that revenue stream coming towards the club. I think at one stage it was at something stupid like 10 pence per shirt or something like that Rangers were getting. It really was horrific, and it really struck home with me 2 or 3 years ago. I managed to get tickets for Anfield with a boy, and me and him went down, and we were in. Now, I don't know if I'd want Rangers to go a similar route to some of the Premiership clubs, because down there really was a sort of touristy feel to it. But that said, when I was in their mega store having a wee look about, I mean, it was like a supermarket. There was like 20 checkouts, a rake of stuff, and it was queued out the door. And all I could think of at that time was, I think I'd been at Ibrox the previous week at a game, and people were walking past that mega store, because there was the boycott, and you're just thinking, this is a huge amount of money that the club are missing out on, and that's a hindrance. That's a handicap in terms of trying to compete with Celtic. We're already, financially behind them on a few things. We don't need both hands tied behind our back when it comes to things like, the retail stuff and the income we could get for that. So hopefully it's, the first positive step in getting back to some form of normality, and that we can get a decent revenue stream in for that, because we need every revenue stream we can get, because we are playing catch up when it comes to Celtic in this front. For a number of years now they've been ahead of us in this. They're generating more income, they're paying more in wages, and if that's, all the sort of statistics tell you that if you're paying more for wages, you're winning more trophies and more titles. So hopefully it's a positive step in the right direction, and we'll start to see, the revenue streams come in, and that can go back out the door towards, better players.
Stevie, just to touch on what Colin said there, obviously the revenue is a massive part of this, and the money that can be brought in, through strip sales and things like that. How vital is it from a financial point for the club, in your opinion, and what can it bring, not only financially, but just in terms of the entire image of the club?
Well, I think it's huge in terms of, that's something I talked about on the blog today, in terms of, I won't bore people too much, but if you look at our kind of financial situation in terms of this year, we had a £10 million shortfall. Granted, we spent a kind of outlay of £10 million last summer. Obviously, that isn't all paid up in one, I understand that, and it's all staggered and things like that. However, we had no commercial income at all from strip sales and stuff like that. Now, for the kind of 6-7 months up until Christmas time, and until this kind of deal went sour, we were owed £3 million as our share of the dividends. On a yearly kind of basis, Rangers would project that commercially strip sales and things could be around the £5 million mark. And that, if you think about in terms of what we are short every year, commercially, if we start bringing in that kind of money, that's going to go a long way to making this club self-sufficient, which is the aim. And that's income that we haven't been able to tap into for several years. So even in that very kind of basic point, it's massive for us. But the image of, shops at airports, shops in big cities and things like that, Rangers are a massive club. And to be in the kind of commercial situation we're in, you know, there's so many, there's so much revenue streams and stuff that we should have out there that we don't. You know, the new website, the digital upgrades and things like that James Bisgrove is overseeing and work. And what I would say to everybody is that, you know, you maybe wonder who James Bisgrove is, and those that don't know a lot about James Bisgrove, go and have a look at his CV in terms of the things he's done. He's worked for UEFA. He's worked for some massive clubs as well, and he is hugely respected in terms of being, you know, one of the best in his field, and he's now working for Rangers. So I would expect huge things, basically, because I think he's a very capable guy. I know that since he started 7 or 8 months of work he's done on this deal to get Rangers out of these contracts and things has been massive. So commercially, I think that Rangers, you know, are now in a place where it's quite feasible to say with confidence that breaking away from these deals and being in a good place is worth in the region of £5 million to the club on a season basis. And just to be able to see you know, the streets with when we do finally, you know, get back to normal and things, with decked out in red, white and blue and everybody wearing our strips and knowing that money's safely going to the club. And not only that, it's things like being able to, you know, the new plans that they've got in terms of possibly building bars at Ibrox and stuff like that. I mean, how good would it be, you know, to meet up with your mates and go and get a pub lunch at Ibrox and things like that? I mean, that's all things that the club want to do. And that's exciting. It's revenue and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I can understand what Colin says in terms of being cautious, because yeah, we have been here with Ashley and things before, but this is different in terms of getting the club shop back and things like that. I just feel that in terms of what we've been told and things like that, I think this is entirely different now. Yes, I suppose it's understandable that we're guarded and things like that, but I think there's a lot to be optimistic about heading forward.
And obviously, Colin, it wasn't just, you know, the Sports Direct aspect that leaked out that statement. The club confirmed, you know, 32 Red would be staying on as sponsor. There's also, you know, new sponsors in terms of Coca-Cola tenants, Molten Brown. You know, there's a lot of different companies there. It's good to see these sort of brands now connected with the club again.
I don't think there's anything. I don't think you can deny that. You know, that's a sign that the club is gone back to where it was in terms of its standing. You know, I always remember when the 2012 happened. You know, when we were demoted and all that kind of thing. I can't remember who we had our cars with at the time, but it was Mercedes or something like that, and they pulled out straight away. And I think it was Vauxhall came in, and I just remember the image of Lee McCulloch driving into Murray Park and his brand spanking new Mercedes and coming out in this sort of Vauxhall Vectra or something like that. You know, and that was a sign then that a lot of these companies were running for cover and didn't really want to be associated with Rangers at that particular time. So to see some of these firms coming back, like Coca-Cola is obviously a huge brand name, Molten Brown, again, that's a sort of high-end sort of brand. So yeah, it's good that these things are starting to come back. I think it shows you that there is a form of normality returning to Ibrox, and that these companies want to be associated with Rangers. I'm still not keen. I must admit, I'm still not keen on like gambling or alcohol in the front of the shirts. I just think football clubs should have, and it's not just Rangers that are guilty of this. This is just something that irks at me. I think football should avoid those things on the front of the shirts. But other than that, it does it all. I mean, I know I said I was cautious, but I just think that comes from, you know, being let down so many times. You know, you've just felt on so many occasions with Rangers on the park and off it that we're getting somewhere, and then we just get another kick in the teeth. So I think that's why I'm still a wee bit cautious. But as I said earlier on, it does feel a wee bit different this time. I think getting the shot back shows you something that is a wee bit different this time. I'm still worried that a sting in the tail, because Ashley is we know what Ashley's like. You know what I mean? He's an absolute cretin of a human being. I would still be wary of some sort of sting in the tail and all this, but despite that, there's still a feeling, you know, with all these companies that are coming forward now and want to be associated with Rangers, there's definitely a feeling that we're starting to have a wee bit more credibility about us, and we're starting to head in the right direction. And as I said earlier on, that can only be a good thing.
Can I just maybe say something at this point, David? Sorry, Colin, as well. See, with regards to being a wee bit guarded and things like that, that's completely natural. But I'd also say that this isn't something that's just happened in terms of, Friday, Ashley or Sports Direct haven't, missed a deadline, and by 5:20 we're telling everybody and announcing it. This is months ago. So this has been months in the working, a lot of hard work behind it, a lot of, legal to's and throws and confirmations and discussions and sorting things out and stuff that will really need to be sort of clarified by the club. But just a wee kind of, I don't know if it makes people feel better. It made me feel better in terms of this is something that's been known and discussed now for back and forward between both parties for several months. So I just think that this one's a wee bit different. I don't see people like James Bisgrove and things making the announcements they have if it's going to be the same as before. So yeah, I mean, it relies on us trusting them a wee bit, and I get that, and I get we've been stung before, but that wee point for me that this isn't something that's just happened. This has been months. I've known about it for a wee while. So in terms of, it's one of those ones where is it really true and things like that. Well, now we know it is. So I think that's important. This isn't just something that's just happened. It's been, a long time coming in terms of back and forward from both parties and things like that. So everyone seems to be on board with regards to where we are.
Just the final point on the statement that came out yesterday, Stevie. I'll stay with you on this one. But there's going to be a new kit and retail partner announced by the club. We've obviously seen rumours that seem to be swirling. It's always been the same with this sort of thing. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things about who it may be. Macron seemed to be one that was kicking around quite a lot a couple of months ago. The latest one is Castor, which is obviously a kind of up-and-coming sports brand that actually sponsor Andy Murray. Is there any insight, or are you expecting an announcement soon from the club? Obviously, they said it was imminent, but how important is it that it's the right brand for Rangers in terms of that sort of worldwide appeal, and also the probably given the statement that came out yesterday, by supply and demand, it has to be someone that can deal with that demand for jerseys as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge point, and we've obviously seen the speculation, and it's not something I can kind of say anything on, but I would say that, as I said today in the blog, that people are talking about, or we are talking, that Macron were a dead cert a month ago, and after a good tip by a friend of mine, I said that Macron wasn't happening, Umbro wasn't happening. There was rumours of Puma and stuff, and that wasn't happening either. I can't deny or confirm the current rumours, but what I would say in terms of, again, people worried about, are they up to it and things like that, that'll all be part of the retail contract, in terms of they'll have numbers, they'll have projections and things that they need to stick to, and if they don't stick to it, then that'll be, an easy contractual kind of agreement between them. Rangers are obviously confident. They, let's not try and, kind of pretend that there obviously is retail partners and distributors and things in place, and that's all there and that's all agreed. So it's what's important is that they can keep up with demand of the support. And do you know what, David and Colin as well? I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but see, for me, the most important thing is they treat Rangers properly. Doesn't matter who we're sponsored by. I seen RBR say last night on the Gersnet website that whoever it is, their pound is just the same as Adidas and Nike and everything else, and that's exactly it. As long as it's the best deal that our club can get and the best deal for us, then it doesn't matter the name on the shirt, because it's not bigger than the badge, and that's the truth. And it doesn't matter who's sponsoring Rangers or who's whatever, because I would buy it and I would wear it anyway. So as long as it's good for our club, then it's good for me. And I've never been really one to kind of get worked up. I know that social media gets excited about everything, but for me, I don't really care who it is, as long as it's the best deal that Rangers can have. And I would say that I've heard that the deal they've got is very, very good and it's very lucrative. So I would be pleased with whoever it is, and I would hope that they would be able to produce for Rangers, and that's all that really bothers me, David. That's all I'm really caring about in terms of, as long as it's best for us and best for the club, and that's it really for me. I'm not bothered who it is.
Do you think these sort of things, Stevie, are brought on by social media? And I think I've discussed this many times on the podcast, and football. I mean, I'm only 26, and I've even seen a massive change in the way football is discussed since social media has become such a big thing, and perhaps the who's going to sponsor the kit and how it looks and what it means, and what it looks like to other clubs and stuff. It's very sort of like the world of social media. Do you think that people are more anxious over materialistic things like that now that there seems to be this constant argument and a bit of ripping the piss on social media?
Oh yeah, I think that's a fair point. But social media, I think, has become, it makes being a Rangers fan. It certainly makes what I do a 24/7 job. Because every little thing is overanalyzed. Every little thing is looked into. Everything is discussed, 100 times, and that's just the world of social media. I suppose it depends on what kind of age you are and things like that. I mean, I'm 36, so I've had a season ticket, 25 years or whatever. And I suppose 10, 15 years ago, I might have been excited about strips and things like that, but I don't know if it's because there's been a dumbing down period in terms of the last 8 years and we can't really get excited about that thing. I mean, God, going to the games outside Ibrox, I mean, maybe Colin will come in and he'll maybe say the same thing, but see walking past that mega store and just your heart sinks, and well, you can't really go in there but being able to get all that back, for me, that's exciting for me. But the whole, what's the strip going to look like and blah, 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 I'm not really that bothered. The only thing I'm bothered about is I just hope it's not too tight this year, because during lockdown, I've kind of made friends with the old custard creams again, so I'm hoping that it's not too tight. I'm not a big fan of the old tight tops, but you know what? See, apart from that, David, I'm not fussed, mate. But I do get your point on social media, and I do agree that I think that's just the way of the world these days, though.
Colin, what are your thoughts in the strips? We've had a few interesting conversations about this sort of thing over the recent months. What's your view on who the new retail kit supplier may be?
I mean, well, I'm a bit of a traditionalist on this, David. I mean, my heart will always kind of lie with Umbro, because that's the kits that I remember as a boy, and I can remember feeling a wee bit gutted when we moved to Admiral, and that didn't quite work out. And it seems to me that any time we've moved outside the sort of well-known sort of kit suppliers, your Adidas, Umbro, Nike and all that kind of thing, there's always been issues. I mean, the Admiral kits, I remember the shell suit being a bit of a washout at the time. It turned sort of purple by Christmas. And we had that period when we sort of done our own kits for a while, and the quality of them were a bit poor. And the Hummel kits were okay, but obviously the deals turned a bit sour towards the end. So my preference would be to go towards a sort of Umbro or one of the well-known brands. But as Stevie's pointed out, I suppose it's about getting the best deal. And I still think, I mean, I know we're in recovery and we're coming back, but I still don't think we're in a real position of strength on this. I think it'll take Rangers to have been back in the European arena for a number of years before, maybe your more established kit manufacturers will take an interest again to see that things are ticking over okay. So I think if all things are well, I don't think some of the firms that are getting mentioned now would be in the running, if you know what I mean. But that's not to say that whatever deal's coming is bad for the club. So yeah, if it's a good deal for the club, I'll take it. But I think in terms of designs and stuff that provokes nostalgia. It'll always be Umbro for me. Every time Rangers announce that they're going to get a new kit supplier, I'm always praying that they're going back to Umbro, but alas, it's not to be on this occasion.
Well, moving on, there was even more announcements by the club towards the end of last week. We'll start, Colin, with the show of loyalty to the fans that was announced actually through a statement by Stephen Gerrard through the week, and they're going to freeze season ticket prices for the new season. Obviously, this is unprecedented times, as we know, and it's never been a stranger time to be looking at season tickets, because genuinely, and we'll probably come on to this, there's a good chance that we won't see football again until the new year. Certainly, if current government guidelines are to be taken into account. First of all, I suppose, what did you make of the gesture from Rangers?
I mean, I don't think Rangers are coming for a position of strength in this. I don't think any football club is, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to sell you something that they simply don't know when they'll be able to provide the goods, So they're saying, here's an 18-match season ticket, but we don't know when the games will take place. So, and that's not Rangers' fault. That's not any football club's fault. This is the position that we're in. So they're not really coming for a position of strength in that. But I don't think any football club is in a position to say, we're going to hike the prices up, because I don't think a lot of fans wouldn't wear it. And a lot of fans couldn't wear it, because we don't know, economically this thing is going to have a huge impact. And there's going to be a lot of supporters who simply are not in a position to afford these things anymore. So I think it was the right idea to freeze the ticket prices, and it was a good gesture. The one thing I wasn't so impressed with was the compensation package for this season. It was a £25 voucher or something like that. Now, I quite liked what Thistle done. Thistle had sort of said to their supporters that they would offer you a full refund on the games that hadn't taken place, but they were asking supporters to volunteer if they could afford not to take the refund, not to take it in order to help the club. But those supporters who did need the money, they would pay them back. And I thought that was a nice way of doing it. Allow the supporters to decide. If Rangers had said that to me, I'm in a position at the moment where I'd have been able to say, you know what, I can take that hit financially. But because of the way they've gone about it, I'm kind of like, well, you know what, I'm going to take my £25 voucher, because I'm not entirely happy with how this was handled. So that side of it, I'm not convinced they got right. But the season ticket, holding the season ticket prices for next season, I think they've got that right. That said, you're saying we don't know when we'll see football. I'm hearing tonight, my mate sort of sent me a message on WhatsApp just before we came on air that they're testing players in Germany because they're trying to get the season over there kicked off, and 3 Cologne players have tested positive for COVID. So, I mean, any thoughts of that season kicking off? They were trying to get the season kicked off in May. That's out the window. So I can't see where football is, even in a closed door scenario. I just can't see the next time professional organised football is going to happen. So it's very, very difficult for clubs at the moment to try and sell their wares, because they simply don't know when they'll be able to do it. You know what I mean? So I feel for them on that front. But the compensation thing that they offered, I thought that could have been handled a bit better, in my opinion.
Stevie, as Colin mentioned there, we are in a very unprecedented time, and over the past few years, the support's been magnificent, in terms of the season ticket uptake and the amount of sold. I think record sales in the past few years, waiting lists for tickets. Is there a chance that, in the current climate, as Colin mentions there, I mean, there's a chance that we won't see football for a long time yet? What would you expect the sales to be like for season tickets?
I would hope that they would be high. I'm not sure what commercially we are targeting and what kind of numbers and things we have, but it is an unprecedented time. I mean, I'm in a position where I save, and we've kind of got like saving things because we got 3 season tickets in the house, which meant that when they come out, we were able to pay and get that done. And understand that people won't be in it. I completely understand that, and there's other priorities and things like that. But I mean, I suppose it's the eternal optimist in me, but I would hope they would be as high as possible. I would hope that people kind of rally round as best they can the club. And I think the important thing to remember is that Rangers haven't done anything to kind of put themselves in this situation. So if we can afford to renew, then I would hope that we would. But I mean, that's the fans' heart speaking. But I know in my head, I understand completely what's happening in the world and where people are, and I understand that people might just not be willing to do it. But it's the old kind of, I would hope that the fans kind of rally round and things like that. And that's just because I want, I'm very mindful of what's happened in the past and things like that. But in terms of uplift of what numbers we're looking at, I suppose the club would tell you they were looking to sell out, but I'm not sure if that's realistic. They might maybe say that they're looking to hit the 40,000 mark and things like that. I really don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The club are normally quite forthcoming in terms of, giving us early insights into where they are and things like that. So I suppose that within, this week they might release some numbers and we might be able to get an insight into that. But no, David, in terms of knowing, anything with regards to what we are looking at season ticket wise, I really don't have any insight into that, unfortunately.
Colin, I'll go back to you on the season tickets, and as I asked Stevie there, do you think that, and this isn't just for Rangers as a club, I think it's Scottish football as a whole, and even if there was an opportunity there, can you see Scottish football playing behind closed doors in any scenario?
It really is. I think it would be pure speculation, and that's what I think what we're dealing with on a daily basis. You know what I mean? I mean the English Premiership especially seems determined to get games finished, but obviously that's linked to TV money, and if they don't see out a certain amount of games, the whole Sky, I think it's 700 million or something like that. So that's a big hit for the clubs to take. So obviously they're determined to see out the season. But I genuinely think realistically it's utter madness to think that football will be happening anytime soon. And I think football's got itself in a bit of a mess, partly of no fault of its own. It can't be blamed for not foreseeing a global pandemic that basically put the brakes on everything we were doing. However, it has put itself in a problem with the model that its business model that it's operating. Huge amount of money coming in, but even more going out. So that's the worry for a lot of these clubs. They're signed up to huge contracts for players, huge amounts of money going out the door, and all of a sudden the money coming in the door has stopped. So that creates a problem. So that's why, as I said, especially the Premiership are desperate to get games up and running and get that season finished. But I just can't see any time in the future when that's going to happen. I just think it's wishful thinking at best, and as I've just said there now, Germany's thinking their situation is apparently on the prove in terms of the virus and how many cases. So they were thinking we can start getting things back to normal. We can arrange for games to be played behind closed doors. And there's 3 Cologne players have tested positive. So the whole thing's up in the air again. So I think it's wishful thinking. And part of the problem is, I said, is the money that revolves around the game. If there wasn't so much money in the game, I think football's problems would be a lot smaller at the moment. And I think they would be quite happy to say, you know what, we can just sit back, and when it's safe to come back, it's safe to come back. But they now have a commercial and business need to get back as soon as possible. And that's why you're hearing all these things like closed doors. I heard a thing through the week there that Sky are thinking about CGI supporters, to try and help generate an atmosphere. Just absolute nonsense. Nonsense to the highest order. I think football has looked really silly on more than one occasion during this whole thing. And games behind closed doors, frankly, I don't see the point. I think the only people who would enjoy those games would be the players. You know what I mean? Watching it from home with no fans, and supporters being in the ground generate the atmosphere that make games better. You know what I mean? So I just can't see it happening anytime soon. And I think it's maybe time that football sat down and actually realised that and started saying, well, we need to start focusing on how we protect clubs, how we make sure that as many clubs are existing at the moment are still here when we come out this thing. I think football has got itself in the right conundrum and it doesn't know how to deal with it.
Stevie, Stephen Gerrard was on Sky Sports News of the week discussing, potential signings and building a squad for next season and things like that. But, is that again wishful thinking that we or any club can be bringing players in and building a squad and rearranging a squad when there's so much uncertainty around it, even with current players and contracts and things like that are going to run out? It's going to be a really, really difficult summer for any club, but especially for Rangers in the current situation where, it's expected that we strengthen in certain areas that we need to for a season that really we don't know when it's going to restart.
I mean, that's the impossible question to answer. But I would counter it by saying that I think the club have to, David. I think we have to just carry on, and in terms of our planning, we have to try and and do the best we can. And in terms of this is where Ross Wilson spoke very well on the webinar thing that they done yesterday. Again, it's on the Rangers channels on YouTube to go and find that. I would watch that because he speaks a lot about how they've kind of countered it and watching videos and scouting stuff like that. And I think the simple matter is that where it might change, David, in terms of our plans is, maybe we had a budget of 7, 8, 9, 10 million, whatever we might have had for the summer, right? It might be that is no longer there, or it's now quartered or halved or whatever. And we might have to look at a different kind of market. You might find that our squad, we maybe had ideas for certain members of it that they'll now have another chance or whatever, because we won't be able to spend or do whatever we can in the market. And that's how it will probably change. And I can realistically understand that and see that happening. And I don't see the club standing still in terms of, not trying to plan and not trying to sign players and things like that. I already know there's a couple in the pipeline and things like that already. So I can see us carrying on. It's a difficult one. I mean, I don't see us spending the big money. I don't think that's possible. Like last year, we had Kent and Helander come in and things like that. I can see maybe an extended deal for Hadji in terms of a loan move, possibly. And I can see some maybe free transfers and a bit of juggling about, maybe a loan or two. But I don't see huge money getting spent. But I think we do have to continue to plan, and we can't stand still. We have to try and be at the forefront of everything. So, yeah, I mean, and that I should also add as well, David, that I know that a lot of what I say gets taken as verbatim and things like that. I'm just talking as a supporter there in terms of what I can see happening. It's not, I don't have any insight into our kind of transfer budgets or strategies. There's a few rumours and things, absolutely, but in terms of where we are, I don't have any insight. But I can see the kind of summer where it's like that for a lot of clubs. I don't think you'll see any club coming out and spending 10, 15, 20 million on players. I just don't see that happening now. So I think we might, in terms of squads and things like that, I think they might be very similar. Any guys that are kind of moving about might be loans and free transfers and things. But that, again, that's just the way I see it. Colin maybe Colin might think differently or whatever, but that's just the kind of where I am with it.
I think transfer fees in general are going to go down because clubs just, especially if the market down in England, if those clubs have to hand back the TV money that's been talked about, then they're not going to have the money to make the sort of bids and offers that they were making before. So what's happening now, I think, will have a huge impact, not just in Rangers and football in general. You know what I mean? And I think players who have enjoyed huge salaries might be in for a shock come negotiations to their next contract, because I think I hope and I believe that football will take stock of this and think, what, maybe how we were doing things before wasn't quite right. I mean, I think it would be incredulous if football clubs didn't now put in some sort of clause in a contract around, well, if anything happens to stop footballing activities, we don't pay you your 30, 40, 50,000 pound a week. You know what I mean? I think football needs to learn from this. Clubs need to learn from this if they want to keep going in the sort of similar model that they were doing previously. So I don't think what Stevie's talking about there will just affect Rangers. I think it'll affect all clubs. I don't think any clubs will be offering huge money or money comparable to what they were paying for players before. I think that's going to take a dunt for the foreseeable.
Well, another thing that was announced by the club recently was a new My Gels membership scheme. Stevie, would you be able to sort of chat us through the impact that's going to have in the actual ins and outs of it?
Well, I think that what you've got to realise is that membership schemes are part of nearly every big European club in terms of tickets and benefits and things like that. And what I would say as well is I don't think this scheme is finished in terms of the benefits that we might be able to get. I'm pretty sure that once we're able to announce more retail wise, I think that you might find that there's a few benefits in there, club shop and things like that. But the club have to try and maximise their income in terms of that. So if you imagine, 40, 50 pound and 10,000 sign up, then you're already starting to eat into the kind of the yearly costs that we're trying to break even with, and that's what the club are trying to do, and understand that. And listen, some people have already said they don't like it, and others have kind of commented on it. I think basically it's tailored that it's supposed to benefit everybody, and it's supposed to be able to build up your points and help you get tickets and things like that. James again, Bisgrove talks really well on this webinar, and there's frequently asked questions and things on the website about it. I'll be honest, in terms of where I am at it, I haven't yet properly looked into it. My first thought was I would pay my season tickets once that came back. I would look into that, because I think they email you back and then you can go on and buy that and purchase that and things like that. I know you can buy it now, but that was my intention, to go and properly look in it. I know there's benefits you get, the scarf and the membership card, and you can get points for doing Rangers Telly and things like that. But I think anyone that's looking and getting a proper explanation is to sit down and look at the stuff Rangers have put out about it, have a good read through, and decide. I mean, ultimately, again, it's about trying to support the club and bringing an extra income to them. So I understand completely why the club have done it, and in terms of trying to maximise their income. They'll be looking in time, to maybe build up a membership that brings in £1 or £2 million a year. And again, that's all money that kind of puts better players on the pitch and helps us kind of break even. But in terms of talking you through it and being able to give you the pluses and negatives, I think it's self-explanatory in terms of, the more points that you get, the more it's going to help you. And the more benefits you'll get in terms of trying to get away tickets and trying to get tickets for semi-finals and finals and things like that. And your past experiences are going to help in what grade you go in and things like that. But again, David, it's a wee bit different for me with a very young family. I don't go to every away game, and I feel sorry for my pals. Big Robert Fulton's a big pal of mine, and he goes everywhere and he struggles for tickets these days. It's not like that for me, and I'm not, I take my hat off to these guys who go to the away games all the time and that, and they maybe now are kind of having to be on that scheme to go get to these games. So I can understand why people might be a wee bit up or down, but all I would say is, it's a situation where, if you can support it, then, try and see if it suits you. But it's one of these ones that this is a conversation that's very emotive to people, because it's ultimately, some people are going to like it, some people aren't, and I don't like kind of trying to. I've not done a lot on the blog in terms of kind of talking about season tickets or things, because I know that this is a really difficult time for people. But I just hope that that we're all right and everybody comes through it, and I hope that everybody that can kind of, will back the club where they can. But I'm not in a position to I don't want to be sitting saying, well, I'm all staunch because I think it's a great idea, or I don't. I just think that people should really make up their own mind, go and have a look, and I understand why the club are doing it. I think it'll be tweaked and it'll be changed and things going forward to suit, and maybe kind of to suit everyone better. But like everything else, understand, the club are trying to be at forefront and do things that others are doing. So it's just one of these ones, David. It's a difficult question. It's an emotive subject for me.
Colin, I mentioned earlier about social media and how ramped up things are on there. That seemed to be where most of the arguments were taking place about this My Gers scheme. Do you see the point of view of some of the people that weren't maybe as enamoured with it as others?
Yeah, I know. I think when you introduce anything like this, David, there's going to be winners and losers. You know what I mean? And based on where any supporter is at this particular point in time, some will feel they're gaining something out of it, and some will feel they're losing out of it. And Twitter, when it was announced, or Rangers Twitter when it was announced, was just, just a bun fight, really. You know what I mean? And some of it you can understand. You know, I mean, the point system. All the supporters that go to the away games and go to the European away trips, they don't get as many points for showing that level of loyalty as someone who subscribes to Rangers television does. And in some ways you can understand that, but I think Stephen's got a point in terms of this is obviously done to maximise income for the club. So if you're going to away games, and you're going to European away games and buying tickets, that a huge amount of that revenue isn't flowing back to the club. So it seems to me that the club are trying to get fans to sign up to as many things as possible that builds up revenue for the club, which you can understand. I'll probably sign up for it. As a membership scheme, I'm not totally convinced by it. I must admit, my view of a membership scheme is something that would take you a step closer to sort of fan ownership or fan representation, at least. If you're a member, you've got a vote and all that kind of a thing, and you have a say in how the club operates, especially on issues that concern supporters, like ticket prices and stuff like that. So as a membership scheme, it's not what I would want. I would want something that would engage supporters more in terms of how the club was run and help us have a voice and what the club was doing and all that kind of a thing. But it's another revenue stream, and I suppose it's like the commercial stuff as well, the kit deal and retail stuff. It's all money that we never got before. So on that front, it's a positive. But I can understand. I mean, Ross, Ross, our fellow host, was sort of saying that he doesn't have a season ticket. He lives in London. He doesn't have a season ticket. He comes up to games when he can, but he does do a lot of European away trips. And I think unless you're on this My Gers thing now, that can't happen. He was bumping his gums about it yesterday, so he felt that a lot of supporters were going to lose out, or is it season ticket holders? You have to be My Gers or a season ticket holder to be eligible to travel away in Europe or something like that. I can't quite remember what it was, but essentially the days of just going to a country and getting a ticket and going in, those are out the window. So Ross was saying that a lot of supporters are going to miss out, a lot of good supporters. But again, I think this comes back to, I think maybe the club are trying to take control of the issues that we've had with supporters away in Europe, with certain songs and incidents that have happened and banners and all that kind of a thing. So I think that the club are trying to take responsibility for that and ownership for that and accountability by saying, right, we know who've got the tickets. If they step out of line, we can deal with them directly. And I can kind of understand why the club done that, because don't get me wrong, we don't get as many fines as Celtic across the road, but we've had pointless fines from UEFA. And I think it's the club's way of saying, well, if you're getting fined, whoever done it's accountable. If we've got their Gersnet number and their season ticket number and all that kind of thing, we can deal with that fan. So I can kind of understand that. And I think a lot of the supporters who, despite being told, despite the partial closures, the Ibrox earlier this season, there's a segment that continue with the same chants and the same behaviour. And I think maybe that's why the club have taken that step. And it's people like Ross that lose out, decent punters that follow the club all over Europe, who are now being told that if they're not part of a certain scheme, they're not eligible to go. So, but I think, some of this, not all of them, but a certain segment of them have to take responsibility for that. They've kind of spoiled it for everyone, I think.
You spoiled it for me a wee bit there, Colin. Ross a decent punter, but there we go.
Well, I'm live on air, I'll tell you what I really think about him when we're off air.
Moving on, Stevie, obviously this week it appears that Rangers are going to show the evidence, the much talked about evidence to their SPFL clubs. Obviously an SPFL EGM set for the middle of this month. This saga's rumbled on quite a bit now. What are we expecting from the week ahead?
Well, I believe that the dossier is getting shown to everybody on Tuesday. So I reckon about 5 minutes after that, social media will be in absolute uproar somehow. But yeah, I mean, we'll get a quiet Monday at least, hopefully, and then we'll see what it brings. But see, to be honest, David, I don't know. I don't know what's in the dossier. I don't know what Rangers evidence is. It's something that I've not asked, because this is the club have led this fight. Their aims are to change or to affect change at the top of the SPFL, because they don't believe in the governance and a lot of things. It just seems to me that every time somebody from the SPFL opens their mouth, it creates a new issue, or they're telling a wee white lie, and that to me I think is crazy. I think that even if Rangers didn't have any evidence, I think that what's come out is enough for people to be sitting and saying we should have an independent investigation about this. I don't have any idea of where it's going to go. I don't know if Rangers are going to win or what, but I do know that I'm certainly confident that people like Douglas Park and things like that wouldn't have led this fight if we had, a dead rubber. I think that we must have something that we generally feel must be investigated, and we're going to find out in the next couple of days. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure we're all going to know. And see, to be honest, I'm kind of going to be glad that it's all going to be out there and we can get on with it. Because see, these tedious kind of everyday exclusive crap that we're getting. This is what the dossier says and all this nonsense. Just let it go. I mean, it's becoming tiresome. I would expect it all to come out. I do think we'll get an investigation, but I don't know if in terms of how it will go after that. But I do know that I've seen enough from the governing body without even seeing Rangers evidence or whatever it is that we think we have to myself as a football fan think that there needs to be an investigation into it, because I've got no trust in the people that are leading the game, from phone calls to chairman telling them that they don't need to vote, or it doesn't matter what they vote and things like that. The whole thing's been handled wrongly at best, and I think that needs an independent inquiry to look at. I hope we get it. I do think we will get it. I hope we get it. And as for what we're going to get this week, David, we'll get the usual. There'll be a lot of noise. There'll be very little information, I'm sure, and then it'll all come out, and we'll just need to see where it takes us. I just hope that the club get what they've set out for. I hope that we as a fan base aren't left, with the usual insults and ridicule of everything else. I just hope that the club, having put themselves in a position, are now going to see it through, and I hope they have, what they've said they have. I think that's really the only kind of hopes I have from it.
Colin, what do you think will happen? Do you think we'll actually get a proper investigation, or do you think that this will eventually burn out, not through Rangers doing, but perhaps by others in the game?
I'm not convinced we'll get the investigation. I'm not saying that's on Rangers' part. I just think, the politics that is involved in Scottish football. I think we've got too many enemies at the moment, and I think we'll need to have something major to swing some people around. I mean, I think Hamilton and Muller have already come out and said that they won't be voting for it I would assume Celtic would go the same way. So in the top flight, Rangers need to convince every other club to get 85% of the vote, and then you've got all the other sort of divisions to go through. So I think we're up against it. I think the people that are at the club now fighting the fight for the club are fighting against an image that's been created by the charlatans that were in place before. So I don't think we have much credibility, and that's maybe what we'll get out of this. We'll maybe present something that won't get us the investigation that we're wanting, but it will give a few people in the SPFL a bloody nose and a black eye, and it gives us a wee bit more credibility. That's my hope anyway. The hope is that we get the investigation. I just think we've got so many enemies in the Scottish game at the moment. I just can't see it happening. I think Rangers could provide a smoking gun and pinpoint where the guy was standing in the grassy knoll as he took the shot, and there would be people in Scottish football that wouldn't vote in our favour. I think the last sort of 8 to 10 years we have built up so many enemies that it's going to be very, very difficult to convince people to do this. So, and if we don't get it, then the whole thing will start again, might affect our credibility and all the rest of it. But the hope is that we offset that by giving one of the three monkeys in the SPFL, whether it be Rod McKenzie, Doncaster, or what's the other one's name, McLaren or whatever his name is, Murdoch, I can't even mind his name, giving one of them a proper black eye and discrediting them would maybe make it worth it. But it's maybe just me. I'm maybe just been negative because of the last 8 to 10 years. I think towards the end of Murray's regime, there were people in the club that just, I think Murray wasn't interested in Rangers anymore. I think Rangers had become a bit of a hindrance to him, and that's how he viewed Rangers, and the people in the club at that time were not doing what they should have been doing, and we are where we are. We ended up where we ended up. I think our name's been dragged through the mud, and it used to be the case that when Rangers spoke, people listened. I don't think it's like that now. So the people that are trying to put over a genuine case for grievance and all the rest of it, I think they're landing on deaf ears. So I hope I'm wrong, but I can't see this investigation happening because I just think there's too many people involved in the Scottish game who don't like us.
Well, it's going to be another interesting week of that, I'm sure. Thank you to my guests tonight. It's been another good podcast. Thanks for listening. Everyone stay safe, obviously. Hopefully we'll be out of this lockdown at some point soon, but until then, stay safe and thanks for listening.